This next honoree, when you look up the term VOG, which is voice of God, if you do voiceover, you know what I'm talking about. This is the guy they named this after. We're talking about Dana Hersey, much more than the amazing voice. Let's watch.
In the 1970s and 80s, WSBK was at the forefront of entertainment television, and the face of the station was Dana Hersey.
I know that we can get in here. How you doing? How are you? Dana Hersey, TV 38.
I know that.
With Dana leading the way, TV 38 was a hotbed of groundbreaking local programming. As host of the Movie Loft, he enlightened his audiences with his encyclopedic knowledge of the cinema. Armed with a deep, booming voice and his trademark sweaters, Dana's Movie Loft brought an innovative slice of Hollywood into people's homes. He would also bring a slice of Boston with his pioneering We Don't Knock. Reality TV before reality TV was a thing, Dana took viewers along for a ride as he barged uninvited into hotspots throughout Greater Boston.
I saw you get kicked out of the Internal Revenue Service a few weeks ago. It was great.
Yeah, it's terrific, isn't it?
Best shows.
We're trying to get kicked out of everywhere in town.
And as a co-host of the cult favorite Ask the Manager, Dana teamed up with a series of TV 38 general managers, where they would answer some hard-hitting questions like, why do you continually show Shemp episodes of The Three Stooges? Or, what happened to Willie Whistle?
Please keep The Odd Couple and Dick Van Dyke forever. Do you want to say anything?
I'd like to say that forever is a very long time.
Okay.
Dana's legacy will forever be known as Entertaining Boston.
And here to introduce the man who never falls down on the job anymore is Henry Dane, the creative services producer at 7 News WHDH-TV. Henry?
Hi, everybody. Talk about a dream job, being a promo producer with Dana Hersey as your voice and on-camera talent. Doesn't get much better for a bunch of reasons, which I'll get to in a moment. But first, I want to tell you a few things about Dana that you might not know. Dana Hersey was born and raised in Wenham, Massachusetts. As a teenager at Valley Forge Military School, Dana was able to worm his way out of marching practice because they wanted his baritone voice for the school choir. After being picked to read a poem on WFIL-TV in Philadelphia, the TV station's mailroom was swamped with rave reviews, and a legend was born. Dana returned home and began his broadcasting career in radio at WLYN in Lynn and on TV at WSBK TV 38 in Boston. At SBK, he started as a booth announcer and grew into his role of on-camera talent. First, reading letters to the GM on Ask the Manager, but it was the Movie Loft that put Dana on the TV map as writer, performer, movie host, and true Massachusetts TV icon. His format, style, and presence on the Movie Loft would influence many national TV movie hosts to follow. During Dana's tenure, WSBK carried Red Sox and Bruins games, making the station irresistible to cable stations up and down the East Coast, and giving TV 38 regional superstation status. This effectively brought Dana and his movies into the homes of hundreds of thousands of TV viewers all through the 1980s and well into the 90s. Here in Massachusetts, with his rich, deep voice, Dana was referred to by local media simply as the voice. But behind the man with the big pipes who interviewed motion picture giants on Hersey's Hollywood and the syndicated TV series Preview, there lurked an outrageous comedian revealed in TV 38's cult comedy hit We Don't Knock. The show featured investigative invasions of Boston institutions from the IRS to the combat zone. Along with sketch comedy, it was a cross between 60 Minutes and SNL. Dana was always up for a good laugh. Just ask anyone who worked on the Movie Loft. They'll tell you some of his best and funniest moments came between the takes with his hilarious improv. I was one of many lucky producers to work with Dana at TV38. He graced my promos with his marvelous voice and brilliant on-camera performances. I'd call on Dana to channel his inner Charlie Chaplin, Humphrey Bogart, and John Belushi to promote upcoming films in character. And once a year, I'd drag him, kicking and screaming, but unable to resist, into comedy sketches for our annual Three Stooges New Year's Eve TV marathon. While maybe best known for hanging around the loft beside a spiral staircase, decked out in a colorful sweater, nowadays Dana's voice is heard on radio stations coast to coast and on Greater Boston Radio's Morning Man and more. Dana also continues to host movies in an online streaming venue called The Film Detective. His is a storied career that keeps on going, and his voice just keeps on getting better. Listen for yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to present the man, the myth, the voice, Mr. Dana Hersey.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. Hank and I have known each other for, I don't know, Hank, over 40 years, somewhere around here. And I never asked any questions when Hank wanted me to do anything, but Hank actually one time put me in a chroma keyed ox cart being pulled by a giant chicken. That's true, and I never knew why. But then again, I never really asked. But it's indicative of the kind of thing that I did at TV38 for so many years and how diverse my jobs were there. When I was inducted, when they said I was going to be inducted, a friend of mine said, "Well, this is great," and he congratulated me. And in my most humble manner, I kind of turned to him and quipped, "Well, it'll look great in a resume." And he paused and he looked square in my eye and said, "Or on an obituary." What are friends for? There is one thing that I should like to dispel today, if I may. A rumor that I was asked twice about it today, in fact. It has dogged me for many, many years. I cannot take credit for this. I was not Willie Whistle. And I think the source of that confusion may have been because early on in my days at 38, Willie was for those of you who are too young to remember, he was a clown in the traditional sense of being a clown. He, white face, red rubber nose, sailor hat, suspenders, big pants. And his thing as a clown was that he talked with this carnival whistle, these little tin carnival whistles that you put on your tongue. And you put it, and the tone of it when it came out would probably take the fillings out of your teeth sometimes. Well, anyway, I was called up to the general manager's office one time, and that was a guy named Bill Flynn, crazy Irishman, always called everybody by their last name. And he said, "Hersey, we're getting letters about the clown." I went, "Yeah." He said, "Nobody can understand him." I said, "Yeah." "So you're going to interpret for the clown." This is absolutely true. So subsequently, and for many years, when he taped his show, which were raps for cartoons, but he tried to impart his Willie wisdom, I would stand off set and Willie would speak. Sometimes I had to make it out because I, quite frankly, couldn't understand him either. But at times he would, he would go, and I would say, "That's right, be careful when you get on the bus in the morning, boys and girls." Absolutely true story. Now, I don't mean to denigrate Willie, because Willie actually was a creation of Dick Beach, who was our operations manager at TV38. He was very proud of Willie. Dick is no longer with us, and presumably no longer is Willie. But he did a lot of work for charity, and he was very proud of him, and good for him. But sometimes, in fact, to give you kind of my introduction to TV38 in those early years, He taped his show shortly after our Monday morning production meetings. So Willie, as the operations manager, would show up at our production meetings, which were held in our conference room, as Willie Whistle. And sometimes speak as Willie Whistle, answering questions. So it was kind of like a Fellini movie at a time. But it is kind of the way that I started at TV 38, and it just continued to be a bunch of laughs. I had such a great time there. I would like to thank a few of the people there. They're literally, I was thinking about this for the past couple of weeks. I can't honestly say that there's nobody there I didn't like. We all seemed kind of young and crazy, and anything that we wanted to do, somehow we got on the air. And one of the people I would like to thank as a result of that is a woman named Judy Jurisic. And I don't know where Judy is now, but I never get to thank her personally, but there would have been no Movie Loft, there would have been no We Don't Knock, no Hersey's Hollywood, and I would not be standing in front of you now if it was not for Judy Jurisic, who somehow as a program director managed to get every dumb idea I ever had on the air, and at the risk sometimes of her own job. She was an extraordinary manager. And again, Judy, wherever you were, thank you very much. I do want to thank some other people that certainly are working. Yes, please give Judy a hand, because boy, she surely deserves it. Other producers of the Movie Loft who were so kind when I was doing a lot of movie junkets and that kind of thing, who were taking care of the show while I'm making sure that I look good when I tape the show. The first producer is here. Meg Lavinia was the first one. Thank you, Meg. Subsequently, Buffalo Bob Ecker, a good writer and a great sense of humor. Ann Martell, who became a producer later in the show. And then Michael Rausch, a terrific writer and a very loyal friend in the final days of Movie Loft and in my final days working at TV 38. It was just a lot of laughs, and it sure didn't seem like a lot of work, that's for sure. But the one thing that I am most grateful for at TV 38 is that 40 years ago, I met this beautiful intern there named Joan Mulcahy. She would become my best friend and my partner, and today she is simply known to our 5 grandchildren as Jammy. Thank you, darling. And once again, thank you, and thank you all for being here, honoring all these people, and putting me on the list with such distinguished folk. Thank you very much.